Welcome to partialarc.com. Don't do that.
Do you want to hear a story? I'm not letting go.
Are you ready for this?
Follow your heart.
I'm going in.
This is
Blockbuster Punch-Up.
Welcome to Blockbuster Punch-Up. This is episode 10. I'm your host, Jay Jones, and I'm joined by my co-host and film enthusiast, Todd G11.
Hey there.
Hello, Todd.
We are broadcasting. This episode is brought to you straight from North Korea.
Oh, yeah.
We're in an underground bunker.
We get pretty good reception out here.
Yeah,
strangely.
no, it's not bad. You know, it's like
I
pirate radio station.
98% of the populace don't have access to electronics,
Yeah.
so I think we're pretty good with the Wi-Fi.
We should be fine, you know, so if at any point it cuts out, it's because we're dead.
Yeah, it's probably because of that.
Yeah,
they have found us, they've tracked us down.
We just wanted to, like, you know, we wanted to go crazy with this episode.
We wanted to ring in the new year in the best way possible, and that's to talk about North Korea,
and
guys. We know.
We went on a little, we traveled, you know?
I know. We figured...
We crossed the border.
You know, with an audio medium where visuals and environment is so important that we should be in North Korea for this episode.
Just for the real, I mean, this is the real nitty-gritty stuff here.
Yeah.
We're doing some muckraking, investigative
podcasting. I mean, we're going to use this time right now. I mean, you guys don't even know. We're promising a lot, and we are going to deliver on the real deep secrets of North Korea through this
As
podcast.
you can imagine.
Yep, as you can probably guess.
We
recently,
as the whole entire world has,
either heard about or maybe seen
The Interview.
Yep.
Little film that made a big stink.
Yeah, a lot of people heard about it for, you know, reasons like terrorist threats. And
that's kind of why we wanted to do this episode as well.
Absolutely.
Is that it caused we're going to talk about this cultural moment that it caused with a movie threatening a country to violence. And part two of this cultural moment was the reminder of the importance of independent cinema and independent theater chains.
Right.
Because that was the heroic story here. You know, the movie maybe is not that good, but the heroic story here was like independent, privately owned theater chains to the rescue.
We're gonna show this movie.
I didn't even know about this art house convergence. There's this community called Art House Convergence.
Oh, cool.
And they get together every year. It's like the guys from Cinefamily, Alamo Drafthouse, other theaters around the country. And they get together, and it's about the programming of their independent art house theaters and what they can do. And, you know, some of them are nonprofits, some of them are for-profits. And just like they got together and were like, we have to make a stand. We got to do something here. And for a week, they were like on the phone with Sony round the clock.
Wow.
Trying to get this thing made.
That's pretty awesome.
The second half of the story is my favorite part of the story because after seeing the film, it was like, okay. But the thing that happened was so great.
The independent theaters, yeah, the cultural ramifications have become more important than the film itself.
And we have no clue what the cultural ramifications will be from here on out.
True,
because we're still in the middle of this narrative.
We're still part of it.
Who knows what the ramifications of this are? The other thing about that cultural moment is the simultaneous day and date release. The theatrical and VOD, which is the first time they've ever done that.
Tons of money on VOD. It made $15 million.
And if you don't know, dear listeners, that is something that exhibitors have been fearing for years.
And strangely, all of these things, these political ramifications, these cultural changes around VOD and movie theaters and blockbusters, cyber terrorist attacks, strangely, all of this is circled around a movie by Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg.
It all circles around this weird little movie.
All right, Todd. So, like we always do you want to kick things off with a recap?
Yeah, you got it. So, James Franco plays Skylark, who is the host of an entertainment news channel, sort of like a Piers Morgan by way of Ryan Seacrest kind of guy, right? He's like this, but less intelligent than both of those people. And his producer, played by Seth Rogen.
Seth Rogen goes to James Franco and is like, I want to be in real journalism. I want to do real stuff. And James Franco's character goes like, you know what I just found out? Kim Jong-un, the leader of North Korea, actually really loves our show.
Which he finds out from Wikipedia.
And Big Bang Theory, apparently, which is a nice jab.
A knock comes on the door, and it's the CIA, Lizzie Kaplan.
Who
who ask them quite politely, and they oblige, pretty quickly to assassinate while they're over there. But, while they're in the area, while they're in the neighborhood, why not just assassinate the Supreme Leader?
And it makes sense because Seth Rogen had just said only scenes ago how important it was for him to do real journalism. And as we all know, I don't know if you guys went to journalism school, but there's a whole bit about how to assassinate the people that you interview. So Seth Rogen really got back on the right track with that.
The CIA gives them they give him adhesive, like it's like a Band-Aid adhesive.
Well, what happened is the CIA watched a bunch of episodes of Breaking Bad, and they saw that Walter White killed a lot of people with this thing called ricin, and they're like, oh, it'll be a ricin strip. We'll put it on the hands, and they can shake hands with people.
Yeah, it's like a water-soluble, They arrive in North Korea. They see, like, a supermarket, and there's a kid, and it's all very, like, on the nose. It's it's a little, like, over the top, and that quickly gets them to where we spend, unfortunately, too much of the movie, I think, but the majority of the film in their fortress, in Kim Jong-un's fortress.
Kim Jong-un shows up at their hotel room.
And we learn that he is a massive fanboy. Oh my god. Like, he's starstruck. He can't believe he's meeting this person. That starts a bit of a bromance that takes off very quickly between James Franco's character Skylark and Kim Jong-un. And the plan is starting to unravel. Seth Rogen, in the meantime, as the bromance between Kim Jong-un is going on, Seth Rogen and Suk have sort of shacked up a bit, and Suk reveals that she is not necessarily with the regime. She reveals that some of the people don't really believe in Kim Jong-un's policies, but there's no infrastructure to do so.
Which comes down to, they're going to basically use the interview, instead of killing him, they're going to use the interview as the inciting incident to start this revolution. The interview happens, they achieve their mission.
Afterwards is a crazy action scene of sequence.
James Franco and Seth Rogen and Suk are in a tank, and Kim Jong-un's in a helicopter, and they blow it up with a tank missile. Essentially, all the music of Katy Perry, and the movie ends. And guys, that was the interview. So now that's going to take us into the punch-up.
Punch-up.
Whoa, guys! Special guest punch this episode from Dennis Rodman. Holy crap!
Welcome.
Thank you for hitting me in the face. It was tender, but I'm going to need surgery, but thank you.
Did you? I see the indentations of all of the championships on your face.
It's pretty impressive.
I don't know. Did he win championships?
I think he did.
I'm not so. Did you win any championships?
Did you win
I'm not really the person. Why did you come by the podcast?
Yeah, really strange. Did we invite Dennis Rodman?
He's a fan. He writes on a little thing,
Oh yeah, he does write on that little whiteboard.
He's telling us he's a fan of the podcast, and Kim Jong-un apparently is a fan of the podcast as well.
Oh, that's good.
And told him
well, while we're here,
dude, let's interview Kim Jong-un.
Let's interview Kim Jong-un on the podcast this episode.
This is what we could do. This is okay.
We have an opportunity, Todd.
We have a huge opportunity.
We have a responsibility.
We better not blow it.
Foreshadowing.
For America.
There's a lot riding on this.
So, guys, this brings us to the interview.
It does. We start things off typically with, let's talk about the good things, right?
Yeah.
Let's put credit where credit is due. These guys push through in a studio system right now.
Yes.
A movie with the premise of we're going to
assassinate
Kim Jong-un on screen.
An actual political leader
of a
in another country that
well known
exists.
For hating us and probably wants to nuke and destroy us.
Extremely bold. It's got a great setup. I mean, there's a million and one ways to start this movie where these two idiots go and they assassinate Kim Jong-un. 99% of them, are not as well thought out as like, oh, they're on a celebrity news station kind of thing. Kim Jong-un likes some American celebrities. They're asked to come, and they are asked by the CIA to
assassinate
him. So the setup for this movie is really great.
Really great.
We like these guys automatically. They're lovable, idiotic, but lovable.
Oh yeah, and there's some great stuff in this film that's very comedic and funny. I mean, I loved all the Katy Perry references. I love the setup in the tank with Katy Perry, and I love the payoff of Katy Perry playing while they're driving the tank.
Finale.
And even so, they're going to be like, what is going on with this song? It's like, it helps me focus. And they're just driving the tank.
And there was, the Lord of the Rings references I found particularly funny because, like, just you're the Samwise to my
Samwise. And they kept going with the Lord of the Rings references.
So like, we set up these internal conflicts that are interesting. We have external conflicts that are interesting. Aaron wants to be a real journalist.
Yep.
Skylark don't really know exactly what his internal
he wants to hang out
is.
with Aaron, I think, is his motivation in this movie.
Other things we really liked about the movie, I loved Sook. I thought she was a great character, played by Diana Bang. I just thought she was like a really, really funny, played that role really well.
Oh, yeah.
And just the character itself just like made me laugh. I just thought she was great.
But then that's going to lead us into some of the things we didn't like about the movie.
Some of the things we didn't like, the movie has such a great concept, but it's a shame that the execution just is a little poor. There's like sort of the Moby Dick of the movie is like this unknown, scary thing is North Korea.
Entering North Korea.
We're entering this place. We don't know what we're going to encounter. We don't know what this is going to like. And we're being asked to like assassinate the guy at the top. The scariest, most dangerous man of this whole place that could kill us immediately is, that's our task. And the place itself has so much like the person, the place, so much mythology, and then we arrive in North Korea and we're immediately checked into a hotel
and never
where we spend the rest of the movie. That was one of the things that I was like, I wish that we were shown a little bit more of the place. Like, I mean, essentially, North Korea in this movie, let's just treat it as a movie, and North Korea is just a fictional place, let's say. That's like creating a world. It's like a universe. It's like we're entering into Mordor. And they say Mordor.
They even say it.
Use Mordor as a reference, that's what I love so much. It's like this mythological evil place where you have no idea what's going to happen once you walk through those gates. And we don't get to see the orcs. We don't get to see the, how like Sauron is like controlling and creating an army and all that kind of stuff, right? We don't get to see how the machine works over there.
We just get to a hotel and then cut to, partying and
hijinks.
Drinking and hijinks and
the fun and games
Seth
segment.
Rogen shoving a thing up his ass.
Lots of butt stuff. And then, one thing that was really, we talked about some of the setup and the execution being poor. There were a lot of arcs that were not even just poorly executed, they just dropped off the face of this film. If you remember, they're set upon this task by a thing called the Central Intelligence Agency of the United States.
I believe they're a big government agency in the U.S. It's CIA,
I believe. It's the fucking CIA. And then, like, as soon as the bromance takes a hold and the interview and they're gonna, do this and that and whatever, the CIA is... there's
completely gone.
There's a montage of people watching the interview. And then there's shots of the CIA, like, in mission control, watching television. Like, that's the only thing that they can do here.
Like, all they're doing is just sitting around hoping it pans out like they
And I'm like, where did the drone and where did the ear communication, like the watch?
Where did the check-ins and
where did the Dick Tracy go?
Lizzie Kaplan shows up at the end of the movie again to be like, remember this character? They had a thing maybe? And then...
Yeah, that was kind of stuff that was like, there could have been so much more going on with like the interactions with them and the CIA. There was like so much potential. Again, potential, and a little bit of like poor execution and wasted potential.
Right.
This, I guess, heads into our punch-ups. So, a few of the things. The relationship of these two guys. I really like this bromance that the Skylark starts with Kim Jong-un. But it would play a lot better if Seth Rogen and James Franco, their relationship was on the rocks or was so strong and they completed each other or something like that.
Right.
It would be a lot stronger because it would be like a breakup movie or he's having an affair, but it's with Kim Jong-un. Like, that's funny, but it's like with the bromance genre that they have sort of, built their laurels upon, essentially.
Yes, they've definitely built that foundation on it.
I understand Seth Rogen's character's motivation for going through this movie. Someone like makes him feel shitty and he wants to like,
he wants to prove himself. He wants to go into the world and be like, I am a journalist. I am in freaking North Korea. We're with Kim Jong-un.
Look at us. We're doing like important stuff. We changed call signs. Now we're like legitimate now. He's seeking legitimacy.
Right.
Now Skylark has really no arc.
No, not really. He's just kind of along for the ride because this will just be another fun thing.
And he's a pawn. And the great thing is that a buffoon meets another buffoon because like Randall Park plays Kim Jong-un as a clown and it's really, really funny.
And that's where that zaniness and fun comes from.
Right, and they're friends and all that kind of stuff. But it'd be nice if maybe he had some type of arc. I don't know what. Maybe that he
they have it lined up a little bit there. Maybe it can be played on that he is seen as a little bit of a buffoon. Maybe just like Kim Jong-un talks about how he has to play the part of this leader in the film, because Kim Jong-un, when he kind of like gets close to James Franco's character, he talks about like, oh, I have to be this person, I have to seem this way, I have to pretend like I don't, do normal things because I'm seen as a god. We can also learn a little bit about maybe James Franco.
Maybe they could have a celebrity culture. They could talk about celebrity culture.
He plays the clown because that's what's expected.
That's what
of
people want of him.
Even James Franco makes a comment like, people want our show because they want to eat that kind of, they want to consume that kind of content.
Yeah.
So maybe his character breaks down a little bit like, there are times I would like to do a little bit more than what I do, but I'm the clown. They want me to be the clown.
And you said expectation. I like that too, because celebrities are expected to do this and that, and they're and there's something,
they're expected to be exactly what their brand has been designed for them.
Yeah, the brand, right? So that could be an internal struggle.
And that could be an internal struggle for him, which would have made for me, which was undermined in the film, which would have made the final scene with the actual interview so much more interesting. Where Suk actually convinces them, guys, assassinating him, just killing this guy is not the way to do it. Your government's just not, they're not getting it. We need to just show the people that he's not a god. He's an average man. He has flaws, things like that, to start a revolution. So actually having the interview is the most important part.
And for the first time in his professional career, he has to actually ask important questions, like real questions that are not just like, what toothpaste do you use, and who are you dating, and like, what do they say, Miley Cyrus's camel toe, stuff like that, right? It's like, this is the first time he actually has to prepare for an interview. And what funnier, that's a funny montage. They could have had a great montage
of him like training or like asking
a training montage of like being a real journalist,
which would be great, because his character in that scene, though, when they say you got to do a real interview, is like, oh, I can, and he has like memorized facts and stuff. It seems like he's already there. He's already
good at it.
And like,
maybe that could have been his journey, right?
And even in the interview, he actually struggles in the bit because of the puppy, because they portray him as an idiot,
right?
And then he actually starts throwing the hardball questions. How much better would it have been if he had to he struggled because he'd never done it before, so he had to actually get there himself, and actually give a really solid, awesome interview, and still have a little bit of that quirks that he has, but it just would have been much better. And take out a little bit of the finger biting scenes, because god damn did that scene undermine what could have been a really awesome, a really great up and down scene of Skylark finally committing to a really good interview.
And Seth Rogen, playing the part of the producer puppeteer in the background, who is finally getting his moment in the sun of legitimate journalism. And that's when you cut to that guy in the bar, his friend that made him feel like shit.
Exactly.
That's when you cut to him, and he's like, oh my god, this is the greatest interview in the history of journalism.
Yeah.
This one interview is incredible.
And maybe you have Seth Rogen and James Franco on earpiece, Seth Rogen's feeding him and that's where you bring the bromance back to a full buddy, we can do this. I'm here for you.
Right.
Talk about this.
And let's say,
this.
They're supposed to give the interview of prepared questions, and he's not supposed to be able to talk to him, let's say. And so James Franco's on his own or something. And then what if to just keep the gadgets and the CIA still part of the story, what if they figure out a way to use their technology and watches that they've been
they've got these trick
so that
CIA
he can communicate with him and feed him lines while he's in the interview or something. There would be something there that's kind of interesting. Just it's all set up, it's in the movie, but it's not as well,
not to follow the standard you have the breakup and then you of course have the finale where they fix things again, but you could have easily had James Franco walking into that scene of having just had a breakup with Seth Rogen's character and being like, you know what, I'm just going to do the interview as it's been scripted. Yeah. And then Seth Rogen has to come in and with the help of Suk, be there for him.
It's like the marriage, right?
Yeah, it's being the marriage.
He breaks up the marriage.
He breaks up the marriage and then he's just like, you know what, I know we've had our tough times, but you can do this, man. We did all this training, I believe in you.
And you bring up another Lord of the Rings reference.
Lord of the Rings reference, yeah,
I'm glad to be here with you at the end of all things.
Yeah, exactly. It's a great quote from Lord of the Rings or something. And then that brings that spirit back out of James Franco's the Skylark character, and then he starts throwing those hardball questions, and then we launch into the fun finale with the tank and the Katy Perry music.
Sure, because you know what, I like the tank and the Katy Perry. It's the finger stuff that really,
Also, I would have liked to have seen some resolution that they got the end of their arcs, that Seth Rogen, maybe the next scene is them interviewing, if you probably wouldn't get a world leader.
But maybe they're interviewing like the next president.
Yeah, maybe they're interviewing the next president. Yeah. Or show that this actually led to something for them in their career.
Right.
Instead of just cut to like a tell-all for James Franco's character, Lizzie Kaplan cameo again.
So Seth Rogen gets his day. He's now a legitimate, even though what they did was ridiculous, he's now looked at as like a legitimate news journalist, and they're both like American heroes, right? Mm-hmm. James Franco is this like Anderson Cooper, I've been in the shit kind of guy.
Which would be great because that's what this movie didn't have. It didn't have a actual resolution for everything they put in.
Yeah.
There was no like, and where are they now? Kind of like, why did they do all of this?
So that's kind of like the arcs in terms of like the characters and the major story. Now, other things like within the story there are more North Korea, please.
Yeah, please.
We talked about this a little bit in like the
notes before the punch-up.
Yeah, like I think they should have saved North Korea for when they got there. As much as I like that opening scene, I think it should have started with them in the newsroom. Then, like, out of nowhere, there's this call from North Korea. It would have been so much funnier to me if it was shocking.
They just contacted them
just
out
a
of the blue.
random phone call like, this is North Korea.
And like you said, cut out that first scene, so we're really keeping North Korea behind the curtain.
It's a veil, and we don't know what's
holding
there.
back what's going to be
because
there.
that's the reality. We have no idea what's going on.
And also,
there.
here's the thing: not only do we not know about North Korea just in our own world, but also what kind of zany shit are they going to cook up for their version of North Korea in this movie? That's really fun to hold on.
That's the world. That's the Mordor. That's the fantasy land
exactly
that this movie could have created. And there's just so much that you can do. Like they could just go to maybe they built a shopping mall just for this visit for them to like walk through. They could have done
some great American satire, like we're like America.
See, you have just entered into the part of this movie that disappointed me the most.
Right.
I wanted to see a little bit more of a reflection of us. James Franco plays a character who is essentially America.
Yeah.
In terms of like the masses, we are a person who we shoot first, ask questions later. Sometimes we don't know like the history of things and we repeat our mistakes. But it's okay because we're really bold and confident and we're successful, right? Like we value, we're wealthy, we're powerful.
We love sex and drugs and explosions and noise and
we wield our power at will.
Exactly.
And and we love our egos being stroked. Mm-hmm. So here, enter in this character who represents this place.
Yeah.
Into a place that is, from all that we've heard, couldn't be further from the opposite of this place. And then maybe there could be something where it's not as different as...
There's a little bit of a reflection there.
Right.
Which they could have played so many funny things with.
I just think that, in a movie like this, regardless of how... This is just a little comedy, right? Well, no. There's a political angle, however you slice it.
Yeah.
It's a movie about America going to assassinate the Supreme Leader of North Korea. It's a political movie. So, in my opinion, when you make a political movie... You should probably have something that you want to say.
Yeah.
A statement of some kind, like that there's... And this movie, like, sort of, like, tiptoed around some really, of the things.
And then
blew up Kim Jong-un's face, and that was supposed to be...
The thing.
That was supposed to be, that was so, like, bold. I think there could have been a lot more subversive, bold shit going on in this movie. Similar to, like, the Lego movie, how the Lego movie lampooned brand culture and, capitalism and all these things. This movie could have really hit upon, and this is where the satire comes in. And I don't care what your politics are.
Right.
Make a statement, though. Is it that America's the greatest, North Korea's evil? Maybe that's just it right there. That's it, right? They're evil. Maybe North Korea is good, actually, it turns out, and it's America that's evil. Once they are over there, they realize that it's like, we're a bunch of assholes, and like we've actually created this place that makes it something like that. Could have been interesting, just as it's a fantasy, right?
Right.
So create a fantasy, create a farce,
do something.
Or North Korea is evil, but you know what? America's also evil. Or how about, best of all worlds, a combination of these three?
Yeah.
When they first get there, it's like they're going and they're like, we've got orders from the CIA. America is the greatest country in the world. We're going to assassinate this guy. He's a monster. We know all these facts that we've been told about it. And then you go over there, and there's this bromance that happens with Skylark and Kim Jong-un.
And then it's like, oh, wait, maybe
And we realize that maybe it's not so...
You can get both. You start with the propaganda that maybe America feeds to these interviewees that are going over. Then you get the propaganda that North Korea feeds back. And then the lesson that you learn at the end is like, maybe we get propaganda from both.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, some of these things are wrong, and maybe there's something we can do about it.
And listen, it's not like I'm not like supportive of North Korea.
No.
Kind of thing. It's just that like maybe sometimes, you go over, we think things that aren't necessarily true because of ignorance. We don't know things about this country. However, they seem pretty fucking evil. Yeah. So that's how you end your movie.
Yeah, you still end it the way you end it. But you raise the questions. You raise the questions. Yeah. You can have real statements out there, which is what this movie created an opportunity for. Right. That's what the whole premise is. We're going to a place to get answers that we could not get answers to for
and the
beforehand.
The best way to have this whole thing. It's called the interview, right?
Right.
So we have this whole arc. You put the bromances in there. You add these internal conflicts for all the people.
They lose the rice and they don't get the rice. Since they meet Suk. They find out about a revolution.
Right. They find out about this whole thing. All of it is there's the ticking time clock of this interview. One of the things that I felt in the movie that was a little bit, the interview was almost like they were almost like reminded of the interview in the third act.
Oh right, we got to do that.
Right, we got to do the interview. It's like if the interview was like coming, and then suddenly it's there. For the interview, and they fucked up all the other ways to like kill him so far, and it's like shit. We have to do it at the interview.
Yeah.
Like at the interview we have to actually do this interview, and we're not prepared for it. We weren't like going to do it here.
And you know what? That's how you bring the CIA in it. That's where Seth Rogen trusts James Franco to do it himself. Whatever he sabotages the CIA is like, we got to take him now. We got to go and we got to send in our people, or we got to do whatever it is. This is our moment. And Seth Rogen sabotages, you know what? He can do it.
Yeah.
He can pull this off.
Just wait. Give us
the time to do it.
Right.
And because maybe they find out that he's going to, Seth Rogen relays to them that he's going to launch the nukes or whatever it is. They're like, well, we got to go now. So that's where you put in that, it all comes to this point.
It has to come to this interview. The whole, everything riding on this movie has to come to this interview. Maybe Kim Jong-un has been trying to get James Franco, he's trying to brainwash him into being anti-America.
Being his puppet there for the interview.
Which, again, by the way, there's a lot of other references to films like Manchurian Candidate and all this stuff that you could really had a lot of fun with. In this political movie that's really just a comedy, in way, it's kind of like a political thriller, disguised as an action comedy.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Well, what would have been really great, which kind of started to happen, is if then it became Frost Nixon, where Kim Jong-un is asking him really difficult questions. Remember, this is being watched by the entire world.
Yeah.
So it's North Korea, but it's also America.
Mm-hmm.
So both countries are watching this interview. The character says some things, Kim Jong-un's character.
Yeah, he has some
things that are like, well, what about, income inequality in America and all this stuff. And he's just, and these things, it's like there's a moment there where there's a conversation that could actually happen. The major action sequence, so to speak, dramatically, should be in this moment. Mm-hmm. And then, go nuts.
Katy Perry fun, tank, blow up a thing.
Have fun with some fireworks at the end.
And then cut to finish. They're interviewing
and then
these next presidents. And
then everything's solved, right? Their legitimacy is solved. Freedom has been restored. Epiphanies have been made for both sides. Maybe there's been breakups and get back togethers. And there was an assassination or not, regardless of how you want to do it. There's a movie in here that is extraordinarily funny and extraordinarily smart. And I believe that these guys are smarter than what I saw. And this person, if the point is, as Seth Rogen has been quoted as saying, if the point is to debase and degrade this person, which is what he said, he's like, well, the point is he's not going to like it because the point is to debase and degrade him. If the point is to do that, to me, how better to do that than to create this
beautiful satirical,
huge satire and bring down a god of a man
intelligently without doing butt jokes and that Kim Jong-un just sharted in his chair. This movie could have been a fake dictator. This movie, for what its impact was, it could have been a fake dictator that they made up somewhere in a fake land,
Right.
and that's what this movie could have been. But if you're gonna do a movie with Kim Jong-un,
Yes.
you gotta freaking go for it.
So when like there's these rumors that he can talk to dolphins and he doesn't have a butthole, show me him talking to fucking dolphins.
Exactly.
If there's a rumor that which is another rumor that he like was born in a cave with a unicorn.
You know, have him take you on tours of going to the cave of the unicorn, and then a scene he leans down to an aquarium and like dolphins come up and like everybody claps and like do these crazy scenes.
Seth Rogen is realizing that this guy's insane. Meanwhile, Skylark is like, just completely taken with it, and loves this guy. There's like so much that you can do.
Unfortunately, we got what we got, but we'll see. We're still in it right now. We'll see how things kind of.
We'll see what pans out. The funniest thing about this whole situation is that it was like art imitates life, imitates art.
Yeah,
because there's something about this movie. Like, what if this movie becomes like propaganda in North Korea?
That would be hilarious.
I read an article about a guy who wants to airdrop through weather balloons copies of the DVD of the interview, like from South Korea over the border. A movie like this is so dumb. But what if there's a third act to this story
that we haven't seen yet?
That this movie creates some like propaganda and regime change.
That would be insane.
And Seth Rogen and James Franco are like looked at as like the new like.
There's actual busts of James Franco. They have a joke in here that James Franco gets a bust in the movie. There's actually a bust of James Franco and Seth Rogen somewhere in North Korea.
Honestly, sometimes like truth is stranger than fiction. I have a feeling that we haven't heard the last of this movie.
Yeah.
And I'm just excited. This movie just came out last week.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see kind of the full breadth of the story here.
Right.
The continuing saga.
There'll be a lot of conversations about this after the dust is settled.
Right. The continuing saga that is this weird little movie that caused a political uproar and almost another 9/11 maybe?
Yeah, crazy stuff,
and could have started a cyber war with a country you really don't want to start
just
a war with.
Crazy turn of events. All right, guys. That was our punch up. So that will be taking us into our smash up.
Smash, 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 smash up.
All right, guys, this is the smash up now for New Year's for this special episode.
A ring in the new year.
We decided to do a special smash up for you guys to remember. Going forward in the new year, we hope for some really great blockbusters out there and some great films to enjoy.
And there are some really wonderful things on the docket for
on
this
the horizon this year. It should be amazing.
There's lots of sequels and this and that and franchise movies, but there are some good standalones that should be interesting. So we'll see what happens.
Oh yeah, and in honor of that, we're gonna, for our specific smash up today, instead of doing a good film and bad film, we're gonna do two bad films to remind us of some of the films of the past to hopefully avoid and have a better future this year in 2015. So we both have bad films. On the count of three, we will both announce them. All right. 1, 2, 3. Cat in the Hat.
Earth.
Oh my god! Cat in the Hat and Battlefield Earth. That was a movie with John Travolta.
All right. You realize
like,
what we have to do here, right? I wish we were smart enough to do this, but I would love to rhyme the rest of this as if it was a Dr. Seuss book.
Holy crap.
Can we tell the history of Scientology via Dr. Seuss?
Is that what Battlefield Earth is?
That's what Battlefield Earth is.
I didn't know that.
Battlefield Earth is, if you didn't know, it's like, I think it came out in like the mid-2000s, like 2003 or something like that. L. Ron Hubbard, the creator of Scientology, was also a creator of lots of science fiction novels.
Oh, surprise.
He was a novelist. He was kind of a Renaissance man of sorts, and he wrote a lot of science fiction novels, and some of like Scientology has science fiction mythology behind it.
Okay.
Namely that, like, we are all like these
alien
generations
ghosts,
of like alien ghosts of like our Thetan level is like a long ago we were on this planet and then Xenu came down and like
I don't know much about Scientology
us and like made us watch a movie of like our souls dying and sucked our shit out, and then like every person that we and we've just forgotten who we are kind of thing, and and I don't know much about
Scientology, but I do know it's one of the only religions out there that you can level up in, like a video game.
You can level up, and
you can be like, I'm level 7 now.
You can also level up. You can pay your way.
Oh, that's cool.
So
it's got its own, you know what it is? It's a new video game app that they've got out there, where
it's got
the microtransactions. It's like, now you can play this game for about 20 years, or you can pay $7.99 right now, and you can get those upper levels.
That's exactly what it is.
It's like what Candy Crush is the new Scientology.
Scientology is a video game.
Microtransactions.
It's a video game mafia. That's what Scientology is.
We are real off track here. Here we go.
But Battlefield Earth is a movie that is sort of taken from some of the Dianetics mythology, and it's on some other planet, and there's a bunch of weirdos. And John Travolta is the antagonist, and he's the villain. To be honest, I don't really remember a lot about the movie, because guess what? There's a bunch of shit that happens, and none of it is interesting, and none of it is memorable. No. They're like trying to get this thing, and then they don't get it, and then there's like a bunch of shit happens, and they can't breathe, and they can, and there's things. It's like totally useless.
What the smash up of this is it's a group of kids that need help cleaning up their house, but instead of Mike Myers showing up as Cat in the Hat, it is John Travolta. Giant alien with massive dreadlocks and stilt shoes shows up to help them clean up their house before the parents get home.
Then creates inside this house a regime of Scientology that you can level up the cleaning of some of the rooms by
doing certain things,
by doing this and that, and he basically creates a religion for these kids inside of this house. And
the parents come home to a real different environment.
I guess we're two kids. It's a rainy day. They're really sad.
Yeah, they run amok. They release some weird aliens that they find, and they run amok and destroy the house, thing 1 and thing 2. And then they call in their friend.
They need help.
And they find this book or this mechanism or machine, ghost soul machine.
Some alien space
that their parents picked up somewhere, and they released John Travolta.
That their parents got at the Scientology convention last winter.
And they released John Travolta there.
He's like a genie almost.
Dreadlock genie to clean up their house, and boy does he take things in a different direction.
Right. I mean, what they think is going to be, he's basically like the evil Mary Poppins. He's kind of like the Hitler of Mary Poppins, and he's just like, do this, do that, and he has a very strange language that they don't understand.
Don't they do something weird where he likes tickling with an octopus? I don't know, man.
It's something the dumbest
weird stuff happens in that film.
It's like take Dune. Yeah. Right? And then just add a steaming pile of shit and then put it in a blender. And you've got Battlefield. Add star wipes from Star Wars.
Oh god!
Because they do all these
they do star wipes.
They do star wipes.
Okay, so
it's brilliant.
We're in this kid's house while they're trying to clean up these things. They're doing tons of star wipes. What we don't realize is this genie, this John Travolta genie, is actually this house. These kids are kids to a UN or a big government official, right? And John Travolta.
But one of their parents is a Scientologist.
Is a Scientologist. Yeah. Very important.
Yes.
And we find out that John Travolta genie, who's helping them clean up, is actually searching for things to get more of his soul genies into the house.
He's searching for lost Thetans.
So as this movie progresses, the kids actually have to fight back against the Cat in the Hat, quote unquote, dreadlock John Travolta,
and the Cat in the Hat becomes the villain. The dreadlock John.
And they have to in this house battle against him to get him back into the box originally. And they rally with thing 1 and thing 2, the goldfish, and they have to fight. They have to fight back John Travolta back into his Theta soul box,
and they use basically maybe he's like Xenu. He's been trapped in this book or bottle or
whatever
something.
It is.
Maybe it's the fishbowl. Who knows?
Sure.
And
the fish is actually.
Yeah, it's the fish, right? And then he comes out and he does all this stuff, and they have to beat him through the tenets of Scientology, and sometimes it's really, really hard, and they just don't want to do it, and so they just pay their way. They just pay their way.
Because
they learned that from their parents. Their parents left them $20, for a pizza, and they're just like, we can get to the next level. We could just use this, and then that's how they defeat him at the end. They just pay $20.
They get to the final level. They get to level whatever 20. Or
Dreadlock Travolta is sent back to whence he came.
That's the noise he makes.
This noise.
Yeah, it makes that noise.
And the kids, continue. They had a really fun day.
They learn a valuable lesson.
They learn a really valuable lesson about, how great Scientology is.
And the movie ends with a PSA from Tom Cruise.
I approve this message.
I approve this message. And what's the name of this film?
I guess the movie would be the Scientologist in the Hat. The
Scientologist in the Hat.
The dreadlock John Travolta.
He's a giant cat, but still has the dreadlocks.
And is still an alien.
It's still an alien.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah.
Works just as well
as both of those movies
solo separately. So guys, this concludes episode 10 of Blockbuster Punch-Up and our review of The Interview. We'll be posting a new episode every other week. Please leave us a review on iTunes or a rating. It really helps people find the show. Of course, you can check out other similar podcasts over at partialarc.com. That's arc with a C. And of course, please email us any questions or punch-ups you might have at blockbusterpunchup@gmail.com.
Do that.
Yes.
We like those.
We do. And you can follow us on Twitter at partialarc. And of course, you can follow Todd on Twitter and Instagram at TG11.
You could. You can.
You can.
If you want.
You should.
You really don't have to.
You don't have to.
You know what? Don't.
If one thing you take away from this episode is don't follow Todd at TG11.
Just don't follow.
Don't follow.
Be your own person.
Do your own thing. Do what John Travolta would want. And be your own.
What would L. Ron Hubbard do?
What would L. Ron Hubbard do, guys?
WWLRHD.
He wants you to be. What would you know? What
on the bracelets?
He's here. We should listen to him. Dennis Rodman, you got anything to say to the people?
Oh my God! Dennis Rodman just took off his head, and he's L. Ron Hubbard.
Oh my God!
That makes so much sense. Dennis Rodman, you are an alien.
You are an alien.
Yeah.
We made a lot of really big discoveries in this episode tonight in North Korea.
I think so.
I think it's pretty spectacular.
We've been there and back.
We have been there and back. The real story.
That's the real story. And you know what?
Story.
We survived.
We survived.
And we're better friends for
What an
it.
unexpected journey, Todd.
Yes.
How many more references can we make before
I don't know, but let's just go back to the Shire.
Let's do it, guys. Well, thanks for listening, and see you in the next episode of Blockbuster Punch-Up.
Let's go home.